Shohei Ohtani and his gambling situation has been reported by ESPN. I'll let you guys know we're recording this on Thursday. You're getting this on Friday, so something may have happened on the in-between. And I am hoping, Domonique, in the in-between, something happens that explains something to me because I want to let the people know something, and then I'm going to have to do something right quick, okay? The report we got is that the Dodgers fired Shohei Ohtani's interpreter because there was some issues with $4.5 million of wire transfers from Ohtani's bank account to a bookmaking operation. All right. And so there's this other investigation that's been going on, and this got caught up in this. So as this has happened, Ohtani's people get this interpreter to sit down with a reporter named Tisha Thompson from ESPN, and he lays out in what is described here in great detail that Ohtani had given the interpreter the money so that the interpreter could cover the gambling debt. Then, when they're getting ready to publish the story, Ohtani's people said, no, none of that is true, and that Ohtani would put out a statement, and then Ohtani puts out a statement, or his people put out a statement that says that they found out that actually Ohtani had been the victim of theft to the tune of $4.5 million. Okay, so what they are saying is, at first, they were saying Ohtani gave Buddy the money to pay off his debts, $4.5 million. And then they said no, that actually what had happened was Ohtani had been stolen from. Okay, now I'm gonna need to start over the show right fast because if I'm gonna believe this, I need to change something up with the way I start the show. I start the show the same way every time, but I'm gonna just act like I believe this, so I'm going to have to start over, okay? Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Boo Boo the Fool. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Thanks for listening on your podcast, because these motherfuckers must think I'm Boo Boo the Fool. Domonique, who worked for you that got access to steal your interpreter? Like, I know I ain't got one of those, but I'm just saying, who else? Can I get an application to work for him? Because apparently you got access to $4.5 million.
So moving that amount of money, and I've heard people say like Shohei made so much money, so that ain't nothing to him. Maybe it's not. However, you know who it's a lot to? The bank, your accountant, like anybody who is watching this money move. So that ain't your interpreter. Like maybe you could get you give your agent power of attorney or your accountant power of attorney or somebody like that. Like, I seen broke. I see how it can happen. Yeah, it's reasonable. Somebody could get scammed out of money, especially when they are in a country they are not like proficient in the language. Like, I get how that could happen. If it's your accountant, they could steal from you. I have a hard time why your interpreter even knows where you bank at. I mean, I guess maybe he came with you to talk to the teller that one time. I don't know. Like, that to me seems like a stretch. And I'm assuming that it's because if they don't want him tied to this illegal activity in any way. And if you're willing to cover somebody's debt, and that's a whole nother leap that I believe that they must believe we are Boo Boo the Fool to accept that leap also. But let's accept that it's the interpreter's debt. Then are they saying that Ohtani, by paying it off, is somehow connected in some way? Because I don't understand the reason for this particular lie. Like, I get the reason for saying that it's not Ohtani's gambling debts in the first place, which who knows? But I don't get the reason for this lie. Like, I gave my dog a gift. My dog called me, and he ain't tell me why he was in trouble. My dog been looking on me for a while. He said, I'm in some hard times. And that's where he messed up. Or he said I'm in some hard times, and he said, wire this money here. And I said, I got you, dog. That's all I'd have said.
I do think we had other jokes, but we're kind of downplaying the best player in baseball is just snared in a ginormous gambling scandal. Guys, it's going to be a thing, guys. It's going to be a thing.
I don't care, though. Like, I'm interested in it being a thing. I'm going to follow the story. But, like, gambling, the way that we view gambling has changed so much that, like, his worst crime is being a bad gambler?
No, I think that's incredibly short-sighted.
Okay,
like,
please.
I think these are big deals that are significant threats to the integrity of these games, because this is Yeah, say the comparison between like the rush of gambling and the rush of cocaine use, and people talk about this, and physiologically, they're very similar. Here's the difference, though. If you owe your coke dealer, call it $10,000, that next hit of coke does not have the chance to erase your $10,000 debt, right? This just becomes a cycle, and it goes and it goes. And then all of a sudden you wind up with people who owe a lot of money. And what are they willing to do to get that money? Like, I think that there's a public health situation that is coming. And you're right, $4.5 million, not really that much, but there's, for a guy like that, but there's no telling where it goes. Like, this number is probably exaggerated. But did you see the story about Bruno Mars?
Mm-hmm. I saw that.
With MGM. First of all, this is why I got to stay off the tweets. Because again, it makes me judge my friends.
Yeah.
And I have my friends pop up. So the report is, or somebody put out a report that Bruno Mars owes the MGM like $50 million because he'd be in there playing poker and losing money. And the first response that I saw people give was, well, hold on. Does this mean we might get a residency? How you think he ran up the $50 million debt? He's been doing a residency for 8 years.
Yeah.
You don't care if he's doing a residency. Otherwise, you'd have been seeing that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just like, man, y'all just do it. And to try to make yourself seem cool by saying you like Bruno fucking Mars, like of all the ways to try to signal coolness is, and look, I don't dislike Bruno Mars, but come on, man, come on, man. But they're like, yeah, but it's easy, man. I do not believe for a second the MGM he owes them that much, and the reason is, and I had to look this up. Apparently, every chip, unlike the bank, every chip that a casino gives out, if they give you a $5 chip, they got to have $5. Because my thought was that they could just, like every other financial institution, just say, here, Bruno, here's $1 million.
Yeah.
Right? And then he goes and he blows the $1 million, but you never had to have the $1 million in the first place. And now you just created $1 million. That was my thought. But no, apparently you got to have the money on the front end. But all that to say, let's say Bruno Mars owed them $7 million, which is possible. Hey, man. Bruno Mars going to be playing the park for the rest of his life under them circumstances. Because he's going to keep getting in there. He's going to keep playing. He's going to keep losing. Do you remember what was the general's name? David, the one that had to quit because he was cheating on his wife. Petraeus.
Yeah.
Yes, Petraeus.
Oh, yeah.
The issue on that with cheating on his wife is not that cheating on your wife is such a terrible thing, but that makes you prone to compromise. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the same thing we're talking about when all of a sudden now these people, and remember, he was gambling with illegal people.
Right, yeah. And so there's no evidence that he's betting on baseball, right? Like, I didn't see that. I skimmed the story quickly. Correct. I didn't see that. But, I mean, and then there's betting on baseball and there's betting on his own games. Those were the things that I was looking for as I was skimming this article before we started the show. I didn't see anything like that from him or his interpreter. So I was like, all right, well, whatever. And then you think about the money, the size of the money, and how much he has. I'm like, all right, we cool. I started thinking Michael Jordan. All right, man, like, you're a competitive sicko, and it's fine. There's good that comes with that. There's bad that comes with that. It seems like he's going to be okay. To get to the point where you are compromised, and yeah, I mean, considering a bunch of the sports media industry now is connected all the way up to ESPN's connected with gambling companies. It's an interesting conversation when you bring up the addictive properties of all of that. But there's a lot of things out here that are dangerous and addictive. And I guess what you're saying is fair for me to say, all right, I see that there could be a problem. It don't feel like it's a problem yet. And you shouldn't have to wait till it to be a problem before you address it. But he a grown-ass man. What I'm supposed to be all caught up in this case for California? Like, y'all better get him. You better get this man who gambled 40 cents worth of his money away. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, but see, I don't look at it through that lens at all of like, oh, I hope the law gets involved. Like, I don't care about that part.
Yeah.
Like that, whatever. They're going to deal with that sort of thing. Yeah, he's okay. And this as a harbinger of things to come. Now, right fast for everybody. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy company, which is not the same thing as gambling. Different. But I will make this point so that everybody understands it. We are in a trick bag because gambling they're floating sports media right now. They are floating in a lot of ways the leagues. That is the money that is powering this whole thing, even though those companies aren't making money yet in most cases. They're playing the same game that like Uber played, where if we can just get the whole market, then we'll get all this money. But they're not really making money yet. My man Jay Caspian Kang made the point on Twitter where he's like, hey, man, this might be a bubble. And if it's a bubble, everybody's going down. And I think he is 100% correct about that fact. I think this is the beginning, I guess is what I'm saying. This is not the last story that we're going to have about somebody being involved in something like this. There is a larger societal issue that's going to be dealt with. But, I mean, in the 1960s, they had to put Paul Hornung and George Papadopoulos out the whole NFL behind the gambling. And I think that something like that might happen now, except the problem is the gambling is now funding everything. Right. So how exactly do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, we see the NBA having these challenges where they're trying to crack down on their players in that way, but they're also opening new ways to do in-game betting. It feels like hypocrisy in a way. And maybe you'll talk to me, you'll help me understand why everyone is so bothered by this, but like, it doesn't bother me nearly as much as it does other people. It's like, yeah, when you do certain things, you can't do other things. It makes sense to me.
No, that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, like when people say, but you won't let the players bet inside the facility. Okay, go home, bet on college basketball. Like, none of this bothers me.
No, have you ever heard of insider trading? Like, there's levels. There's some things you can't do. Like, and for the money that they make, I think it's an appropriate trade. We don't think it's appropriate for you to do this. How about this? I imagine that if you work at, call it Seagram's or whoever owns Seagram's now, you can't drink at your desk.
Nah, agreed.
Right? Like, I imagine now, back in the day, it may have been different, but now you work at Philip Morris. You can't just smoke a cigarette out here in your cubicle.
Right.
Yeah. Like, no, like there's some things that you cannot do.
Those things are like dangerous to those individuals. This is dangerous to the whole industry that you just pointed out is kind of becoming a major pillar for sports entertainment and sports altogether. So one person could potentially have an issue so large that it shakes the foundation of all of this, because this is all based on the fact that we all believe that it's real and true and everybody doing their best. Like, if you shake that like everyone talk about integrity of game, and it was a stick that Roger Goodell used all the time. And when I was at the Union, it would annoy the hell out of me, but it ain't a joke. They would use it sometimes in times when it didn't matter, but the integrity of the game does matter, because that's why this entertainment is good, because it's believed, and that's why it's the only entertainment that people go tune in, because it's not scripted. It feels real, legitimate. If we got to the point where like this is no longer our control, we can DVR that shit and not watch it, not care.
And I think like the NBA, I was talking to somebody about this. I think it was Bob Lagares, but he was making the point, and I think it's a fair one, that the NBA has gone super moral, right, at various points. I mean, this is the league that went so far as to put Black Lives Matter on the court. Whether you agree with the approach or whatever it is the league that wanted you to know as much as anything else that it had a conscience. And I would make the argument the NFL does the same thing too, just in a different way. It feels more cynical, but all that American flag stuff and everything else in the military, like they're telling you, they're projecting a morality, right? Like you can't ignore the fact that those leagues are intentionally projecting a morality, and now they're giving you gambling. And the idea that they're going to put it in the league pass that you are able to gamble, I swear, it's not why anybody got into this, man. This is going to go down ultimately the way the NBA has embraced gambling. It's not going to look great historically for Silver. It's not going to look great historically, I think, for any of these people. Like this is just not the reason that people got involved. I don't have a problem with gambling in principle, in the same way I don't have a problem with cocaine in principle. I just know it's really, really dangerous. Prize Picks is the most fun you can have by winning up to 25 times your money. Prize Picks not only makes playing daily fantasy easy, it also makes using responsible gaming tools easy as well. Prize Picks wants their members to have easy access to the resources required to support their fantasy sports experience. So learn more at prizepicks.com/responsible-gaming or directly in Prize Picks' first in-class member support help center. And make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.